Hi guys. Okay, sorry, I have to admit everyone separately, which is so weird. But I think I got everyone so far. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Oh my God, let's see. I don't know why. I have to figure out how to make it to where it can just let you guys in. How do I do this? I'm so not technologically savvy, guys. So just, just bear with me.
Can't believe it just rained.
Huh? Oh, I figured it out. Okay, I got it. I disabled the waiting room. Okay, cool. So everyone should be able to just come in now, hopefully. Oh, thanks, Angela. You're so sweet. All right. So how is everyone doing today? Happy Labor Day, by the way. Can you believe it's a holiday? It's so weird. Like school never stops for us. So like, when do we ever actually get a holiday, right? Okay. So let's talk about, oh yeah, God, of course, anytime. I know some of you might have been in my my tutoring last term for MedSurg, but I tutored them on holidays. I tutored again for them, I think week 8, also just using my own Zoom because I think the PAL Zoom wasn't active, or I don't know, I can't remember. But I'm always down to do that kind of stuff as long as, you know, time permits for me and my schedule as well. Today I don't really have anything going on, so it worked out. So let's discuss how the test went for your guys' first test. Any feedback on things you learned, testing styles, all that good stuff? Good. That's actually really good to hear too, guys, because a lot of times, well, for like a solid half of my study group that I used to, well, still work with, the testing was not very good to begin with. So, I mean, it's good to hear that you guys are, some of you are getting good scores or you're happy with the result and stuff. 25 minutes. Oh yeah, because they were still doing like a minute and a half kind of ish for MedSurg, right? Is that what was happening? Okay. Yeah, so it's different. But what you got to remember with that time clock, because a lot of people have severe test anxiety and that can kind of trip you up. So what you want to do is just understand that there's going to be some questions in there that you're going to answer so fast. Like you're going to read it and then almost immediately realize the answer. So those will be like 30 seconds or less. And you have a couple of those, right? And then now you have an extra couple minutes. So, or extra minute, you know, and those are also the ones you want to be careful with, because if you are answering them really fast or you just know the answer, just make sure that you read it carefully, and also maybe go back and double check that it's not what is not one of these things, or basically asking for the opposite, because I've done that a couple times and I'm like talking to my friends after about the quiz and saying, yeah, I could have sworn I had this right. I mean, it was this, and not this or whatever. And they were like, no, Karlie, it was literally the opposite of what you just said. And I just hit myself. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So just make sure you're really reading the questions carefully. Taking your time in the beginning to read them will end up saving you time if you have to read it 5 times over, right? So if you read it well and slowly and truly grasp what the question is asking the first time, you're not going to have to go over it another 5, 6 times. So if you're super anxious and you're just like kind of trying to rush through reading the questions, you're probably gonna have to read it another 5 times because you didn't pay attention. So just try to calm yourself as much as possible before your exam. Yeah, I have ways I calm myself before exams, but I will just leave it up to your imagination. So any questions on like mental health testing? Like any questions on maybe topics you guys had or
You have it.
feel free to use your mics. You can use the chat box, whatever you guys want to do. It's cool either way. There's like a way you can even raise hands in here too. It's not like Blackboard, but.
Hey, Karlie, can you go over the medications? Like, I don't understand his worksheets for Middleburg.
Yeah. Which, you're covering the antipsychotics, right?
Yeah. So, like, chlorpromazine and all those ones.
Okay.
Like third and first and second.
Okay, for sure. So the way that I did those, I actually kind of annotated on it during class. Does everyone have these types of med sheets before I continue? Like you guys all have like, it's your antipsychotics, right? Okay, cool. All right, sweet. If anyone doesn't, just chime in and let me know. All right, so the way that I started with these med sheets was by going through the lecture, and he'll tell you general symptoms that go with a certain class of medications. So your typical first-gen antipsychotics, there's general symptoms for each of those medications, right? And then there may be 1 or 2 that go with a more specific medication if he really emphasizes it, or if your teacher does. But the best thing to start with is going to each class and writing down what side effects that class has. So for example, for first gen, you can also know the different ways they're going to call it. They're not always going to call it first generation. They might call it typical or conventional. So know that that's another word for it. Because I remember there was a question in there on one of my exams, and it was like conventional or typical antipsychotic, this, and that. And I'm like, what the crap? Like, I don't remember what conventional means. So just be aware that it may not say first gen. It may say conventional, or it may say typical. Okay, so anyways, back to what I was saying. Know the side effects. So for that one, it has high anticholinergic. So we kind of talked about this last week a little bit. There's something that Middleburg likes to say when it comes to anticholinergic side effects. They remind him of a certain place. What's that place? Yeah, Palm Springs. Okay. Is it Darilee? Are you saying something? I can't really hear you. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Palm Springs. So it's hot, it's dry. You may be like thirsty. It's okay, no worries. So basically those side effects are amplified with that kind of medication. So what do you do when you're in Palm Springs, right? You wear sunscreen, you some block hat, maybe long sleeves. And then so if you classify it that way, it can kind of help you realize what medication you're dealing with. And he loves, and most of the teachers love to talk about like chlorpromazine, which is Thorazine. I don't think anyone in any of the classes, if you guys don't have Middleburg, you have someone else, I'm pretty sure you do not need to know dosage or half-life for any class, except for when it comes to the therapeutic range for lithium. But even still, the range isn't the dosage. So correct me if I'm wrong. So which meds correspond to Palm Springs? So that is going to be your chlorpromazine, which is also Thorazine, because you guys have to know the brand and generic name. Thioridazine, which is Mellaril. And then, let's see, mesaridazine, which is Serental. And these are all, you guys, on this top section of your antipsychotic medication worksheets. Is it just Thorazine or the low potency? It's all those low potency ones. So in the section after I rewatched the lecture, I went back through and put those symptoms for those specific first gen medications. And then you even see too, common side effects of low potency agents. It says in here, sedation. So it's high sedation, right? Possible weight gain, sexual dysfunction, and be careful with that sexual dysfunction one too, because sometimes they'll just throw that into a select all that apply question and it may not apply. So be very aware of which ones that actually goes with. Let's see, dry mouth, constipation, blurred vision, urinary retention, confusion, right? Because you're drying up. If you're super dehydrated, you're going to be confused. Kind of like think like old people with UTIs, right? Confusion. No sexual. This one has sexual. It says possible weight gain and sexual dysfunction. But listen to what your teacher says during lecture because they may or may not specify that. So that's completely up to their discretion on what they say is going to matter with that. Okay. So just be aware of what they're saying regarding that specifically. All those other side effects, the anticholinergic ones where you're really dry in a sense, those are all valid no matter what. It's just the weight gain and sexual dysfunction. There's other, like the atypical ones, like the second gen, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, second gen that do for sure cause weight gain. So you don't want to just throw in a weight gain to the typical first gen ones, right? Because it highly, highly correlates to more of those second gen. All right. And it's specific ones. So they'll also specify which ones have certain symptoms like, let's see, clozapine, right? Which we're talking about atypical now. So second gen, I'm just giving you an example. That one talks about high sedation, seizure risk, hypersalivation, and agranulocytosis. And if you don't remember agranulocytosis for clozapine and clozaril, you know, either or name, you really have to get that through your head.
Could you repeat that, please?
Mm-hmm. So for clozapine, clozaril, it is an atypical second gen antipsychotic. And the major symptoms to remember or things to remember with that one is high sedation, seizure risk, hypersalivation, right? So saliva, and agranulocytosis. Okay. And that's the one I believe where they talk about staying away from crowds and like you're at a higher immune risk with that one. So yeah, there'll be certain ones where they just
hypersalivation and what?
Hypersalivation and agranulocytosis.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Help me to make acronyms for that's actually a really good idea. Yeah. And Anna, when you say acronyms for side effects, are you talking about for like the classes? Like each like typical, atypical, or things like that? Low potency, I put.
Yeah, like for low potency, for Hayes, like hypotension, anticholinergic, sedation, and then like UPS. I don't know, just help me.
Yeah.
Down.
And yeah, because it's low EPS for that one, and then ways for high potency. Oh, that's actually a good idea. And see, you got to do things that help you remember. I know I mentioned last week that there's sometimes mnemonics for certain things. I didn't do very well with mnemonics. However, if there were some for this, I probably should have done them because these meds can get very confusing, guys. And there are a lot of them, and your tests will probably be 40% medication based. I know that's a lot, but just be ready for it. I'm only telling you this because I want you to be prepared. Miso for atypical metabolic syndrome, increase in prolactin, sedation, orthostatic hypotension. Oh, that totally reminds me of miso soup, which is probably what everyone else was thinking too. But yeah, metabolic syndrome, right? So what are the effects of metabolic syndrome? What's happening during that? Can you guys chime in on that? how about this? What happens to your blood pressure? Is it higher or lower? Higher. Good. All right. What happens to your lipids and your sugar?
Hi.
What's going on around your stomach? Yep. Perfect. Good. Awesome. It's growing. Yeah, exactly. So the metabolic syndrome and the NMS, things like those two for sure, you're going to see. I can probably guarantee you you're going to have both on your test this next week. If you don't, I will be so shocked. So really get to know what those side effects are. Whatever your teacher emphasizes, roll with that, because like I said, they can, change things up a little bit, but they all work together. So you're going to have similar questions. So let's see here. I'm trying to see if I have all these Parks cards, flashcards that I had gotten printed out. And I'm trying to see if there was one for NMS in here, because that one was a little tricky for me personally. I don't know about you guys, but it was a bit of a pain in my butt. I kept getting confused with the metabolic syndrome side effects and the NMS ones when I was taking it. Anywho, I don't see it in here. But so let's go. Oh, did he tell you about the increase in temperature? Yeah, for sure. And that actually, you know what? That reminds me of Swift River. Are any of you guys have you done the Swift River module yet? By chance? Yeah. Okay, so you'll probably notice that NMS is actually in there. And it talks about the cooling blanket, I believe is part of that one, like where it's talking about you're going to administer a medication to a patient, but they have, I think it's stiffness, high blood pressure, or something else. I forget what the Swift River thing was, guys. I like totally try to block all of that out of my mind. Actually, I have them all right here too. If it's exhibiting, a rigid extended neck and a thickening tongue. Yeah, that's what it was. So aggressively treat hyperthermia with cooling blankets and ice packs. Stop all antipsychotic medications immediately. See, Swift River. So yeah, I mean, you got to find those specific side effects for each of those disorders, and then it'll make everything so much easier. It took me so long, because when you like mindlessly go through Swift River, you're just kind of like, I don't want to do this. That was me. All right, so continuing with medications. So other ones you really, really, really need to know are your high potency. So your haloperidol, which is your Haldol, that one is super, super important. I know flufenazine or Prolixin was on there. And those are all the EPS. Like, so, your extrapyramidal symptoms, which aren't as bad as the high potency agents, but, high potency, yeah, we're in haloperidol. Which, speaking of high potency, what symptoms are those treating? Your high potency ones, like haloperidol, your flufenazine, all that good stuff. Yeah, exactly. Positive symptoms. Correct. So it's not treating your A symptoms, which, like your anhedonia, your ataxia, all that kind of stuff, right? Alogia. So if you don't know what those things are, it's important. Like, it took me a hot minute to know what like each one meant, because they all started with A. But yeah, your 5 A's, and it's a lack of. So that's a negative symptom, right? Because positive is something that's not normally there that's appearing, right? Whereas your negative symptoms are like anhedonia, so lack of pleasure, right? Hedon pleasure, which is weird. Oh yeah, go for it. Bring it on, Keith. What you got?
Okay, hello. So so for positive, the way I interpret it, because one of my friends brought up a good example, because catatonia is an example of positive, right? But isn't that like a lack of movement? So she got it mixed up with negative and positive. So I came up with like a different way. So positive, it has to do more with like physiological stuff. So like hallucinations, delusion, illusions, they actually think it's there. And then negative has to do with more emotional things. So the 6 A's, those are like more emotional. I don't know. That like makes sense.
Oh yeah. That totally makes sense. And you're right, because positive symptoms, it's something that is not like normally present. So like you said, hallucinations and illusions, all those kinds of things, it's like normal people don't have that, right? And I get what you're saying with the catatonia. 5 A's. Who wants to start typing those in the chat box? I'll put one. Oh wait, my thing's not typing. Oh, there you go. Dang, girl. On it. Allergy. I think it's is it energia? Like anergia, like lack of energy or something like that. Is that right? I forget what it's called.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
So when we talk about like the positive symptoms, would you recommend knowing like the subcategories of those? Like for example, when it goes over like the types of delusions, should we know like if it's persecutory or referential or grandiose?
I would for sure know that those are available, like those are part of it. And I would know, like when you talk about grandiose and like grandiosity, those will come up again in other kinds of disorders. So it'd be good to know kind of what that means, or like what other things it can go to, with. But what was that first one you said with the delusions?
The persecutory.
Persecutory. So it depends on who you have. If you have like, I want to say Tan, or maybe Fudge, who is the other teacher. Dang it. I can't remember who the other teacher was. What's the other teacher? Not Wallace.
I don't know. I have Middleburg.
There's that. Okay, so Middleburg, you're not going to need that. Like it's okay. You're not going to see like, is it a grandiose delusion versus a whatever? But when it comes to maybe like a further down the road type thing, you'll see when you get into like narcissists and all that kind of stuff. You might need to know at least what it means, like what being grandiose or whatever persecutory kind of means. However, if you're in one of the other teachers' class, maybe like Tan or James Marisat, I would probably have just like a very basic idea of it. It's not something that you guys need to spend a lot of time on, because it's not going to be that important. Just know which symptoms in general, or know that those delusions are part of the positive category. And then maybe a slight bit of what it is. So like grandiose, what is grandiose? Or persecutory, what is that, right? But you don't need to go any further than that.
Perfect. Thank you. That was really helpful, because I was like, each positive symptom has so many other categories underneath it that I didn't know if it was worth spending that much time memorizing each one.
Oh yeah. It just depends on who you have. And honestly, like Middleburg's you're not going to go into that for sure. You'll go into others. But I know what you mean, because the ATI book is probably where you're maybe seeing that, because I definitely saw that in ATI and I was like, oh, hell no. Like that is way too much. Anywho, yeah, good question though. Super good question. It just depends on your teacher. Like you said, Tan emphasizes those. So exactly, if he's emphasizing it, you probably should know a little bit. But regardless, it's not too much. Like that one's not too crazy. I don't think. It's just knowing a little bit of what the first word means. All right, so let's see here. What other questions do we have? Are we doing okay so far with those first types of medications that we've discussed at all?
No, not for the medications, but I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like the symptoms. Do you mind explaining to me like what blocking means for positive symptoms?
Blocking?
Yes. For like the
like thought blocking?
I think so, yeah.
Thought block. Okay. I wanted to say that was, why does that seem like a negative symptom to me? But is it listed in the positive symptoms?
It's in the disorders of thought or speech.
Ooh. ATI book? Or just
it was
like
in the PowerPoint, and then he didn't really go through it. And I couldn't.
Okay.
I don't think I can find it in the book, or like the ATI book.
That is interesting, because thought blocking. I feel like I took notes on that. That one, it's hard because that I feel like you go into a little more when you go into the ones I talked about, the why the heck can I think of the freaking names of them? The ones I was discussing last week, the disorders, defense mechanisms. Good Lord have mercy, guys. I'm sorry, I cannot think right now. I'm like, there's so many like disorder, that. Question of the medication used about side effects and what they treat. Don't need to know half-life, don't need to know dosage on that at all. Just know what the medications, well, obviously they're used for like antipsychotics, right? So know that. And then know like Tansid thought blocking, it's like a brain yeah. Okay, yeah. So like kind of like that. And then Google says it means when a person stops speaking suddenly without explanation in the middle of a sentence. That's awesome. Disorganized thought disorders. That makes more sense because I don't remember, it wasn't necessarily in there with like positive and negative symptoms because well, at least we didn't discuss that part of my class. If it was discussed in yours, then keep it there. But yeah, we didn't really have it in with that section, but that's actually a really good way to say it. Is it llama? That's so awesome.
Yeah, Lama. Thank you.
I love that. That's such a cool name. Okay. All right. So we were talking about, someone asked a question. It was medications, right? Did we get that one? Let's see. Medication, usually treating. Oh, okay. So like echolalia. So those kinds of things you definitely want to know the difference on. So there's, oh shoot. Oh, thanks, Magali. Oh my God, I didn't notice you were here. That's so funny. Yeah, usually I give the code right off the bat, but it worked out. Now we're gonna do it now. All right, let me find I'm just gonna share my screen and then I'm gonna open up the window because this thing is being a whole pain. What in the hay bales? All right, everyone can see that? I can't see your chats.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, log in. It is week 3. Yeah, this is week 3, right? Yeah. Like I can't remember what week we're in. Okay. I'll give you guys just a minute to go through that while I look and see if I have thought blocking in my Kathy Parks cards because that actually makes me curious because I didn't really go over that with my teacher. But you will need to know those defense mechanisms when those come up. I promise you. You guys about like 30 more seconds. And my name isn't on there, but it's Karlie. I think it asked for my name on that thing.
How do we sign in? My phone doesn't scan in the...
You just pull up your camera and then just hold it over the QR code and it should pop up like a Safari link.
Okay.
No problem, good question. Yeah, it's kind of funky, but it works. Just open a camera. And worst case, if you want to take a picture, like a screenshot of it and do it later too, that's no big deal. You can do that also. It doesn't like expire or anything. That's why you get to pick the week you're in. All right. Everyone pretty good on that? I am going to stop sharing, and then if we need it later, I can absolutely bring it up. What is this little link?
What week we have to do? 3?
This is week 3. Yeah, week 3. Oh yeah, that link worked too. Perfect. Sweet. Oh, and I actually need to give you guys the link for the YouTube. I haven't given you guys that yet, have you? Or have I? I don't think I have.
I don't think so.
Not yet.
Okay, let me pull that up. All right, YouTube link, here we are. Okay. It's also on the PALS page too. Like if you guys ever go on to the CNSA website, this should be working. And actually, I'm going to click on it just to see if they've uploaded it, which it doesn't look like they have. So I'm going to go ahead and send out a reminder email for them to do that, because I was told it was going to be done on the weekends, which since it's not there, I'll go ahead and relay that information. But yeah, save this link in like your favorites or something like that in your bookmarks bar, just because, oh yeah, or subscribe. That's genius. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. You guys are smarter than me. Because that's where they should be posting those. So if you want to study for midterms, finals, all that good stuff, you can just go straight to the YouTube videos. And then like if you miss my tutoring session, or you miss, wait, Kyle's not tutoring this term. Whoever, I don't know the girls who are tutoring this term also. I think it's girls. I don't know. Whoops. But if you don't make it to someone's session and you want to go to that and like just kind of see all the different ways people explain stuff, that's cool too. And guys, if there's ever something, oh, Megan and Sophia. Okay, cool. I don't think either of them are in my class, so I really have no idea. But if there's ever something that a tutor says and like you're just not really sure, even if I say something and you're like, oh, girl, I don't think so. One, don't be afraid to like rebuttal it or say, hey, you know, I was told something different. Then, you know, go ahead and say it. I'm not going to take any offense to it. I don't know everything. And I might think I remember something, but maybe it's not quite exactly what it's supposed to be. So don't be afraid to like jump in if you think that there might be something wrong. I'm not going to straight up tell you something if I don't know anything about it, because that's just pointless. Like, there's no reason to do that. So let's see. Okay, what's your actual name? Because all I see is owner on there and it has me so confused. I just need to know. Oh, Nassim. Oh, okay, we were here last week, I think. But maybe, or I'm tripping. Yeah, okay. So clang association, word salad, echolalia, and neologism. So clang association, that's like, okay, actually I don't want to explain it because that's just going to take away from the tutoring. What is clang association, guys? Can someone give me an example, like a verbal example of someone doing what Keith just said? Wing, ting, ling, sing. Exactly. So clang association is there's an association of words, like a rhyme in a type of way, but it doesn't really make sense. Like there's not a reason for it. It's just kind of like a funky, loosely put together system of words. And word salad is like a worse version of that. Can someone give me an example of word salad? Tacos, apples. Yeah, pretty much. So that's like total gibberish in a sense, right? Like it's just stuff that does not belong together. There's no rhyming. It's just literally thrown in there with kind of no rhyme or reason. Chocolate Swiss cheese. Yeah, pretty much. Was that an example you had from lecture, Magali?
Nah, I kind of just thought of that one on my own. I was like, oh, let's go with that one.
I love it. So yeah, I mean, those are all perfect examples. It's just words that don't make sense. There's like no real rhyme or reason, literally no rhyme or reason for those words besides mental illness. So perfect. These, for whatever reason, these cards aren't very useful for this. So I'm just going to stick with all the information I had from notes and we are going to go from there. So let's see, what else do we have in here? We had, my thing wants to scroll so fast, echolalia and neologism. So does everyone feel comfortable with the word salad and the clang association? Because those are, you need to make sure that you are pretty confident on. Okay, good. So who has, they think, a good example of echolalia? Think of the word echo, and that'll help you out.
So who has a good example of echolalia? So I just repeated what you said. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Wait, parroting? Parroting, yes, parroting. Okay, Patricia, are you actually asking for my name, or is that just, now I'm confused.
No, I'm stating like when you ask a patient, what is your name? And they, what is your name?
Oh. Yeah, okay. See, I'm like very gullible, so you could actually get me on that one. But yeah, good job, guys. Exactly. So it's echoing. It's repeating what someone else is saying. Solid. And then what about, I call it neologism. It might be pronounced some other way, but what about that one? What do we have for that?
Is it when you describe something but you use a different word for it? It's kind of like gibberish. Let's say like you find a cup and then you say some weird word. I don't know. But then you're asking for the cup, but you're just saying like a different word.
Yeah, so it's like a newer made up word, which it's like did anyone remember what Middleburg said his daughter used to say? It was like a really, yeah. So shoot, I forget what she used to call it. Now I can't remember the freaking word. But anywho, she used to call something a word that wasn't yeah, I forgot to. I can't remember. It wasn't actually a word, and it definitely didn't go with whatever
that was
she was talking about.
Berkey.
What was it?
I think she was saying Berkey.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it was. See, I'm glad someone remembers because I feel bad that I can't remember now. Perfect. So yeah, you're making up a word for something that doesn't even exist, right? So really, really get that one through your brain, okay? Because for me, the neologism, like that, I couldn't really fit into the description. We're like echolalia, echo, you're repeating, right? It kind of makes sense. But maybe you guys can think of something that you could remember. Neo sounds like, oh yeah, Neo. I just think of Neo from, what was that really creepy space movie? Shoot. His name was Neo, and he wore the black cape and like the weird glasses. Matrix. Yeah, symptoms of schizophrenia. Sorry, I think I have these weird things pop into my head. Symptoms of schizophrenia. Neo means new. Oh, that, hey, there you go, smart. A tingle. Oh my God, you guys are genius. Okay, so are all of these symptoms of schizophrenia, yes or no? Or should I say, can they be symptoms of schizophrenia? Absolutely, perfect. Yes, and exactly what was just stated in there, positive symptoms. Perfect. So they are all symptoms of schizophrenia and they're all positive symptoms of schizophrenia. Dang, you guys are on top of it. Super impressed. I always get the best tutoring groups. Maybe I'm just biased. But anywho, okay, so perfect. We got those covered. What other ones are you? No, you guys are the best. I can't believe how many people are in this tutoring session. It's even more than last week. Holy crap, there's 2 pages. You guys rock. Okay, so what other words or what other topics are we kind of wanting some more clarification on? Let's go through some more. I'm liking. Yeah, bring it.
For the spectrums, what does like the schizotypal means?
So, oh yeah, because there's schizo, there's schizotypal, then you have schizophrenia. So let's see here, because I had a really, really good one. Oh, here we are. Okay, so you guys ready for this? Dun, 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 dun. Yes, yeah, so there's 2 different ones. There's one that was schizo, which was what was the one that was over 2 years? I have it in my notes. I don't know why I'm trying to like think of it off the top of my freaking head. I'm not that cool. I think I had like 3 different parts of notes. Oh, it was bipolar that I'm thinking of. That was 2 years long. That's cyclothymia. But we're not even on bipolar yet, so that's what I was thinking of. Okay. Personality disorder. Let's see. Oh, shoot. Yeah, you guys are on top of this chat box. I love it. Okay. Neurological and anatomical pathways that are involved in schizophrenia. I don't think. Okay, so Keith, you're saying neurological and anatomical pathways that are involved in schizophrenia. I know that it's mentioned in lecture where it's like the dopamine theory where excess dopamine can lead to psychotic disorders. Is someone coming into my house? Sorry, I thought I heard my lock on my door opening. What the fudge? Okay. anyways, you should not need those. I can tell you them if you want. Like they assume that biologic factors, like, you know, it's strong genetics, excess dopamine can lead to schizophrenia, they say. If you have a relative that had it, schizophrenia usually, you know, starts in the early 20s, because what are we when we're in our early 20s? We're trying to adjust to life. We're stressed. We're, you know, having new challenges, maybe trying to move out, college, whatever. So that's usually when it manifests. But as far as your ideology, yeah, it's not that clear, because they're trying to say like, okay, it may be genetic, it may be the dopamine, it may be if you have like a lot of amphetamines or something like that, things like that might contribute to it. So it's kind of, they don't really know. So I wouldn't really worry about that. And they also said that there's no difference between like race and social classes and cultures, which is wild, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you're super rich. It doesn't mean that you're, you know, immune to schizophrenia, or if you're poor, or if you're homeless, or if you're whatever. It's just those people can end up becoming put in bad situations because of the disorder, because they make bad decisions, and it's kind of not all their choice. But as far as your other, you know, pathophys and all that kind of stuff on it, they suggest that possible, okay, so this is all hypothetical or possible, brain abnormalities might be enlarged lateral ventricles, cortical atrophy. Dude, someone is totally going into my door. Third ventricle dilation. Sorry, our roof's trying to get, or our chimney's trying to be fixed soon. And so every time I hear like someone's trying to enter the lockbox on the door, I'm like, go away, I'm busy. Ventricular asymmetry, cerebral atrophy, and frontal lobe atrophy. All of what I just said is like word salad to us right now, right? You're like, what in the heck is Karlie talking about? I don't know, because I didn't do that. Like, I just wrote it from the notes, and then we never got tested on it, and I just totally, I was like, whoop, bye-bye. If your teacher talks about it, know it. Mine never did, and I can't picture you guys getting tested on that, so don't worry. Okay, moving on, because you won't need it. And if you do, I owe you $10, but I need proof. bet money right now. If you have that on your test and it's not pointing out that they don't for sure know the cause, it may be genetic and all those things that I did say might count. If it's any of that other stuff about the brain and the ventricular atrophy and all that kind of stuff, I owe you $10, but you have to show me proof. I will email the instructor. There are 2 pages. Well, on mine there's 2. Thank you, free lunch. Unless mine's just tripping. I don't know, mine's, I can scroll. Zelle or Venmo. I got y'all on Venmo. Okay. All right. So let's see what we have here. Schizotypal, that was I was going through. Oh, I'm sure I want to bet. There's a lot of people in here, but I'll find the money. I have money. All right. So, and FYI, I know a few of you in here, so you're kind of used to me. But for those who aren't used to me, I have ADHD, so I'm kind of all over the place sometimes. Second, I talk really fast and I mumble. So if you're like, what in the heck did you just say? Please don't be afraid to ask me to repeat it, because I know that I don't make sense sometimes and I'm kind of all over the place. So please, if I get off topic or if there's something you don't understand, just ask me or tell me like, Karlie, hey, slow down. Which even right then, I think I talked really fast. All right, cool. Yeah, same, exactly. It's really bad. So back to schizophrenia, psychotic disorders. Okay, schizophrenia over 6 months. Okay, if you have a select all that apply, that includes less than 6 months, or let's say a hypothetical question being patient came into the ER experiencing delusions, hallucinations, they're very erratic, all of that kind of stuff, and they've been experiencing these symptoms for 3 months. Are you going to go ahead and just diagnose them with schizophrenia or assume they're a schizophrenic patient? No, you're not. Exactly, because even with it being over 6 months, one, it's not your job to diagnose them. You can do a nursing diagnosis for sure, because what happens when someone's in like a manic kind of schizophrenic stage? What are they at risk for? This is where your nursing critical thinking can come in. If they're in a schizophrenic kind of manic type episode, suicide for sure, self-harm, what else? What are they probably not doing? The risk for something. Let's like think homeless people. Yeah, there we go. Okay, eating, perfect. Malnutrition, risk for like fluid electrolyte imbalance or not eating. You'll see this more come up in like manic bipolar, but I just kind of like drop it in your head now. Grave disability, possibly, yeah. So when someone comes to the emergency room or mental health facility or whatever with these kinds of symptoms, you have to always ask those probing questions. Okay, how long have you had the symptoms? Find out whether they're positive or negative. Find out if they take, oh my gosh, okay, so Middleburg's like rules of success in his class. There's a very important rule, and it's ruling out what? Ruling out something. Come on.
Substance use?
Yeah, so like medical, physical, right? So like, are they using substances? Are they just maybe delusional and crazy because they're on crack? Like, no. So yeah, medical, physical. Maybe they are older, like they're in their, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, and they have a bladder infection and they're confused or seeing things or not making sense. Word salad. You may want to think, oh, they're schizophrenic. Maybe not. Maybe they have a bladder infection. Like you really, you don't know. So you have to rule out medical, physical before you just start treating someone or pumping them full of medications that maybe don't belong with their specific scenario. Okay, so read those questions very carefully. Don't let them confuse you and know the length of time. So schizophrenia, greater than 6 months. What's up, Anna?
Okay, so like for the DSM criteria for schizophrenia, right? So you said like it has to be like 6 months of symptoms, and then for the active phase for like at least a month. Does that mean like confusion, irritability, social withdrawal and stuff like that for like a month?
Active symptoms?
The active phase, because the active phase has to be like at least a month for schizophrenia. Does that mean like confusion, irritability, and all that?
I didn't write that down, but I would think in an acute situation that would make sense, but 3 months active phase. Okay, so if they have these symptoms for over 6 months, they can qualify. If they have those symptoms, to be completely honest with you, you're not going to see a 1 to 3 month or anything. You're not going to have that kind of question. I would just know the symptoms themselves and know the 6 months or more. That's really it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. If you have it in your notes and like you really emphasized it, cool beans, like maybe keep that like on the top of your, head or whatnot. But yeah, don't stress on that one too much for sure. Okay. So let's see. Now, schizotypal. So it's impaired, but not as severe, right? So it's not technically schizophrenia. It's like it, but you don't have enough to diagnose it. So why don't you have enough to say it's schizophrenia? Because it's not enough what?
Oh, I guess I didn't realize our bowl had sweet potatoes.
What?
Sorry, guys. Didn't know my speaker was on.
Oh, there you go. I was like, sweet potatoes, huh? Okay, so if you're schizotypal, okay, like you're having personality impairment issues. Yeah, there you go. Okay, perfect. Time. So it's not long enough. I mean, yeah, you're having some personality issues, but it's not long enough in the time, or maybe the symptoms aren't quite as severe as what you'd see with schizophrenia, so they can't really make that diagnosis. So know that it's like it, but there's some things that are preventing it from actually being there. And then schizophreniform, that is a whole word right there. I've never had more words in a term besides this one that make me just like, what? Schizophreniform disorder. What is that one that you guys know? And then we'll add. What do you think of? Someone might have answered it in there, but less than 6 months. So it's 1 to 6 months. And there's something with it. There's something like personality wise or like life wise. Social, okay, so that's part of it. So it may not affect social and occupational functioning, right? That's the one where they say like, you may kind of have those psychotic thinking symptoms and stuff, but it may not fully interfere with your daily life, your job. Like you can possibly hold up a job. I think that's how Middleburg said it, was like, they may still be working and like relatively able to function in society. All right, that kind of makes sense. Like function, yeah, kind of like if you think of like functioning autism in a sense. Like I don't really want to compare the two, but if you were to compare it to something, it would be kind of like that. Like you have a disorder. There's clearly a disorder there, but it's functional. Like you're still able to do some things that normal people, I don't want to say normal people, but like not as disabled. Ooh, functioning alcoholic. Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to say it too. You got a problem, but you can still make it work. All right, schizoaffective. So what is schizo? Oh, that's sad. What is schizoaffective? Yeah, there we go. Combination. Perfect. Okay, so schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. Okay. So it's like what we discussed it as was like patient meets criteria for schizophrenia and depressive or bipolar disorder. So it's like a combination of two different things. Okay. So affect is mood, correct. So affect, you have schizo, but then you have depressed mood possibly, right? Does that kind of make sense for everyone? Because that one's going to come up. I would know that. Schizoaffective, schizo depression, or bipolar. Yep. Perfect. Know that. I mean, you don't need to go much further into that, but know that. Let's see. What else? Okay, cool. That was actually all the schizo crazies. I don't want to say schizo crazies, but I mean, teachers say it too. I have a schizophrenic uncle, so, and he's so much fun. He's so much fun. He's in Vegas, so he's like far away. But he was a trip, total trip. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be really frustrating, and sometimes you're like, dude, you're just the best. Like, you're full of energy, and my mind goes all over the place, so it's like I kind of feel you a little bit. All right, so yeah, see, random. So what else do we have? I know there were some other questions, but I had a lot kind of back to back, so I want to make sure we're covering everything. Y'all feel good with those? We doing okay? Okay, fucking heard schizo. And I was laughing too. I almost like snort laughed on that one. All right. Bring it on. What do we got next? We got the schizos. What part of the schizos? Oh, you know what I realized too? With positive symptoms, we talked about like, you know, those delusions and stuff, but what else is included in positive symptoms that we didn't discuss that does not have to do with verbal speaking?
Agitation.
Okay, agitation. There's something else.
Visual hallucinations.
True. Besides that, movements. Yes, perfect. Okay, so like strange motor movements, right? Or like abnormal or not supposed to be there motor movements. Yeah, like when you see someone on the side of the street when you're going down LA and you're like they're just kind of like doing some super weird stuff, like tweaking, right? Okay, they could be schizophrenic or they could just be on crack. Like you don't really know. Tardive dyskinesia, actually, yeah, kind of like that. Okay, so stereotyped behaviors. Well, that's kind of like the example in and of itself. It's like what you'd stereotypically think that those types of people do. Catatonia. Yeah, that's actually technically a body movement too, if you think about it, because it's like the absence of movement, like you're just kind of like standing still, or is it like, yeah, because wavy flexibility is that other one where you're like, I think of just like a weird water bed. I don't know why that comes to mind, but it does. All right, tardive dyskinesia, yeah, that tongue thrusty type of thing. You'll see that a lot in symptoms of medications used for these kind of disorder. Yeah, there you go. Side effect of meds. Yeah. See, we're on the same page, just like great minds think alike right there. And then echopraxia, yeah. So you have echolalia, repeating words, echopraxia, repeating movement. So just remember that positive symptoms can also have those movement issues at the same time, okay? That just came to my head and I was like, wait a second, there's more to positive symptoms. And then negative symptoms, while we're on it, we discussed the A's. So let's discuss, because I know some of you probably don't know what they mean and you just don't want to say it, because that was me last term. I was like, ooh, I don't know that A word, but I'm not going to ask a question because I feel stupid. So you're not stupid, neither was I. So let's go through what the A's are. Yeah, so affect. If you have a flat affect, what do you think that means? Flat. Yeah. So it's like I'm talking like this and just looking at you like this and not making any. I like want to cross my eyes just to make it even weirder, but then you're gonna be like, ew. So yeah, lack of expression, no emotion. You're just, there's nothing going on upstairs, kind of looking like, right? All right. So affect, right? Blank, blunted. Yeah, there's like a bunch of different kind of ways to say those. So allogia. So we talked about echolalia. What is allogia?
Lack of speech.
Yep, perfect. Decreased thought, speech. I don't know why thought was included in part of that definition, but it counts. Energia, we talked about this one. This is something that I definitely don't have. Yeah, lack of energy. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I got too much energy, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, let's see. Anhedonia, I'd said this one earlier, so yeah. Lack of pleasure, you got it. What about?
Wait, I'm sorry, Karlie. Can you repeat which one's the one that's the mumbling? What's the name for that?
I think they were kind of saying like the allogia, so it's like decreased thought or speech. Yeah, so that's
okay. Thank you.
So avolition. Yeah, dang, you guys already had that typed out, didn't you? You're like, I know what's coming next. Okay, perfect. Lack of motivation. So avolition. I'm trying to think. Well, motivation, avolition. I guess that could go hand in hand. I just try to connect things to something that makes me remember it, because all of those start with an A, which A is always, in a sense, like a lack of something. So if you don't remember fully what it is, the question may kind of hint at it. So always really read the question carefully. You may not know it. Oh my God, please tell me how you do that.
All right. So clang association, here's how I remember it. So clang what rhymes with clang is a gang association, and then how do gang members try to get out of the gang life? They rap, and what happens in rapping? They rhyme. So that's how I tied it in.
Oh my God, that's so smart. So you guys are so freaking clever. Thanks, Keith. Dude, I love all your little like tips and tricks in here. You guys are awesome. And this is what you got to do. You have to help each other because this program can really like beat you down sometimes. Like my friends, I felt so bad. I was such a bad friend. I was really stressed out like at the start of mental health just because of how everyone, I know, right? Keith is the shit. Oh shoot. No one heard that. So I was really, really bad at like, oh, thanks. I love you too. I was just bad last term. I couldn't really like join study groups as much as I wanted to. I was super like, I don't want to say depressed, but I just could not get my mind right for this kind of term just because everyone had said, oh my God, mental health is so hard and this, and that. And it's, you know, everyone tries to just make you fail and this, and all that kind of stuff, right? And so I went into it just freaking the crap out. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to fail. Like this sucks. And I've been a straight A student like since I started this school. So I was like, ugh, I don't want to fail because everyone's saying that I'm going to fail. So yeah, exactly. So you just have to cut out the negativity and instead of, you know, like ignoring people, kind of how I started to be until I want to say, honestly, it took me to like week 5, guys. I was just bad. You need to reach out and like, you know, find your friends, be with them, lean on them. It's okay if you feel like you're a drag sometimes because they're there to lift you up and you'll be there to lift them up when they need it. So I just wanted to give that little tidbit. It doesn't have to be super hard. You may have those times where you study your butt off and you still fail an exam, and that's okay. What I would do is talk with your friends in the class. Don't be embarrassed to say, yeah, exactly. Don't be embarrassed to say the grade you got to your close friends, okay? I'm not talking like announce it to the whole class, right? Because that's, I mean, one, if you got an A and you're announcing it to the whole class, you're an a-hole because there are people who failed that test and it's not fair. I mean, I know you're happy about getting an A, but it's not cool to like brag about those things when you know that people didn't all pass. Just like be humble first and foremost. And then if you didn't pass, talk with your friends and say, hey, look, this is, you don't have to say the grade, but you could just say I didn't pass maybe, and then discuss the questions with each other that you had and try to figure out what your thought approach was to the question, what theirs was, and maybe what you missed, because it could have been, like I mentioned in the beginning, one of those not questions, right? Yeah, you're not going to be good at everything, totally. Which is why, like, I use my, well, I wasn't very good at everything. I have a lot of notes, and I strategically went through things. But if you ask any of my friends, I study the least. I'm like a crammer, which is not good. Don't do that. If you're not one of those people who can do that, don't do it. And yeah, I know Magali was like, I hate you because you never study, but you do well. I do study. I try to study for how my brain works. Like I study at night really late for like a few hours. And right before the test, I wake up early as heck and I study. But anywho, reach out, talk to each other about the quiz questions. I know they say not to talk about them, but you have to talk about them. Otherwise, you're not going to know what you did wrong. Because the teacher is not going to tell you what the quiz answers were, unless by some like magical reason they decided to start doing that. But that wasn't a thing when I was in this class. Also, reach out to your instructor, because if they see that you're trying, if you failed an exam and you're coming to them, hey, I failed, what can I do to do better? I felt strong in this, but not so much here, but that wasn't really mentioned on the test. Or maybe you studied a lot of things that weren't relevant and spent too much time on stuff that wasn't on the test. Reach out and talk about that, because then they're gonna see you're trying and maybe you might get some points later on for doing that. So don't be scared. Sorry for that little rant, but that is very important. If you guys don't do that, that could be the reason you don't pass. So don't be nervous. Don't be embarrassed. You know, it's tough. I would just be really honest with them, be brutally honest and say like, if you don't do so well, say, hey, you know, even if you get like a B and you think that you should have gotten an A, just go out and say, hey, like, this is what I did to study. Always tell them how you're studying and be honest. Like, I'm not going to go to my teacher and be like, oh yeah, I studied for like 30 hours this week when I like literally studied the day before the test. No, be honest. Tell them what you studied. Tell them maybe what you didn't. Put as much time in that maybe you felt you were lacking on the test. And like I said, medications are going to be about 40% of your exams. So spend a lot of time on those things. And just ask them, like, what do you recommend I do to study? Middleburg asked me, like, what I would recommend for students to study. And I told him, and I told the class, like, the first week. Really, his lecture is, like, pretty much all you need. Other teachers do a lot of different things. They like incorporate a lot of areas, but for the most part, if you study the medication sheets and you study the lecture and then go to the ATI book if you need clarification on topics, like we just talked about schizophrenia, schizotypal, schizophreniform, all those things, right? They may not have been discussed as in depth or as clear as we discussed them in this tutoring session. So basically just ask questions related to things that you didn't do so hot on. That's pretty much it. Anytime. All right, cool. So let's see here. What else? Do we have questions on ATI book? Yeah, for sure. Yep, ATI. I went through ATI a few times because it's like a really good guide, like guideline. Like it's like a study guide in a sense. It kind of breaks everything down really simply. Whereas the book, nope, you do not see me in the book. The only time I was in the book is when my study group and I would do questions from the back. That is it. I hated the book. I refused to read the book. No joke. Like I did not read the book. And yeah, exactly. It literally is like reading like a medical journal. I said, no, that's not, I don't do that. If you are the type of person who needs to read the book to understand, you do you. You don't have much time. So don't be like, hey, Karlie said that I don't have to read the book and I can still get an A. Please don't do that. Like, don't throw me under the bus like that. I did not read the book because one, I didn't have time. I lied. I had time. I just watched Netflix. I didn't like it. It really made me angry, like physically angry. So I read the ATI sometimes. I definitely read the ATI before the proctored exam. So don't sleep on that one. I read my Kathy Parks cards. I highlighted the bejesus out of them. I read the medication sheets. I would lay by the pool and read the medication sheets over and over and over again. And I would watch the lecture. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's so smart. I love that computer reading textbook thing. That's genius. It's like a podcast, but hopefully you can change the voice. I like the cards, kind of. Like, they're helpful. It's like an even briefer version of ATI. So the reason I do like it is because certain aspects that weren't fully covered well, like in lecture and stuff, kind of like, for instance, restraints. You cannot have PRN restraints. The provider needs to write a prescription and renew it every 24 hours. You can absolutely use restraints in an emergency situation, but you need a written prescription within 15 to 30 minutes. And there's multiple types of restraints: chemical, physical, lock them in a room. Well, kind of. And then make sure, like, you know, the alternatives to restraints. So like this says verbal interventions, diversions, calm, quiet environment. So we talked last week about that therapeutic milieu kind of environment, right? And it's different per patient. So things like that are why I really, really liked these cards. And it talks about like medical interpretation. Oh, the interpreter. Did you guys have a question on the interpreter by chance on your last quiz? Like talking about license number for the interpreter? Interpreter with a valid license number? No? Maybe that was med-surg. I tutored med-surg and now I'm trying to think. Shoot, like maybe that was last term's question. Ooh, doggy. Okay. That was med-surg, was it? Oh my God, guys. It's week 3 and I'm tripping. Okay. What was the question? Okay. Sorry. So yeah, I would say these cards are pretty helpful with stuff like that. Oh my God, restraints. I got this question wrong on the proctored. It was about the age limits for restraints. So like adults 18 and up, the time limit like 4 hours, 19 to 17, 2 hours, and 8 and under 1 hour. Totally messed that up. Like I think I put 2 or 3 or I don't even know what. Yeah, exactly. It's bullet point, and it literally is bullet pointed. So what I just said, restraints, there it is. Okay. So if you can, oh my God, and those defense mechanisms. No, it's mental health. Oh yeah, I forgot, you guys. It's different for you this term, or different than you're used to. So last term you took funds. Okay. I mean, last term you took med-surg and you took a funds proctored, right? Moving forward from the term you're in, you will take a proctored on the material you are learning. So your proctored is going to be mental health. It is not going to be med-surg, because you're going to take your med-surg proctored during your, I think, advanced med-surg term. All right. Like I don't have an intermediate med-surg proctored going on right now. It really is like 2 finals. However, I'm telling you, are you guys all doing Teresa's NCLEX tutoring? You better be. If you answered no, I am slapping you through the computer. She's amazing. She's seriously, she's a freaking angel. The proctored is far easier than the one you took last term. Hands down. Like, hands down. 2 to 3 questions. Okay, so see, 2 to 3 questions may have helped you out of, who knows, like 25 questions, whatever 25 questions your test is. It may just be 2 to 3 questions, but that's, do you know 2 to 3 questions is the difference between an A and a B, or a B and a C, or a C and a D, right? So if you didn't know those questions, guess what? You just brought your grade up a whole, no joke, 10%, right? So 100 and, isn't that freaking wild? It kind of honestly makes me mad. Like, that 3 questions can go by that fast. Oh yeah, if someone has passwords, please share. Oh, that was only 15 questions for her thing. That's not bad at all. Well, it's not necessarily the ATI. Well, yeah, actually, it kind of is. But it's also like your general total. Like they're just worth a lot of points. Like you have a 25 question quiz, and all of those are multiplied by 3 to get to your 75 question or 75 point value, right? So, anywho, Kathy Parks. Let me see if I have a link in here still. If not, okay, let's see. Oh my God, error. Shoot. All right, I'm gonna have to look it up. Let me leave you guys. Whoopsie. Let me leave you guys my email. Oh, it's minimized. I was like, where the heck is my Zoom? Oh, perfect. Oh my God, you freaking rock. See, you guys are the bee's knees, and you help each other, and I love it. Perf. Okay, so there you go. You're an angel. Thank you for helping the whole class, because that is so awesome. Yes, use those if you can. I personally think they did help me a lot with things that weren't very clear in lecture. So those age limits, I don't remember learning about those in lecture. They just said we should know it. And I didn't have anywhere, like I'm not going to search that stupid textbook. Like, no, thank you. It talks about unintentional torts, intentional torts, all that good stuff. So anywho, also quick tip, and then we'll go back to all the questions and stuff. Really, really, really spend time on therapeutic communication. Like, guys, your final is going to be so much therapeutic communication. Like, I'm not even kidding. And you're proctored. I think I got an 86 on the proctored and like a 90. Well, he added a few points, but I think I got a total 91, but I got an 87 or so on the final. But both of those were super, super, super therapeutic communication heavy. So the tell me more or the like, freaking crud. What I'm trying to think of like how to say this. Like, what don't we say actually? Never, there you go. Never ask why. How does that make you feel? Oh, I see the spider on the wall too. We should kill it. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, you don't, yeah, I understand. Don't be judgmental. Like what other, yeah, don't encourage it. I was like doing a quiz with my boyfriend, like in the room or something. And I was reading them out loud because I just talk out loud, which got me in trouble with Carl. So don't talk out loud. But I was talking about the spider on the wall one. It's like patient states that they see a spider on the wall and what's your response? And surprisingly, I think the answer was, I don't see the spider, but can you tell me more about your fears or something along the lines of that? Like, you don't encourage their behavior, but you have to find that fine line between, like there's an elderly example. Yeah, definitely don't do that too. There's an elderly person example where the elderly patient is confused and goes outside and he's stating that he's waiting for the bus because he needs to go see his wife. And one of the answers was like, your wife is dead. Something so, first of all, sorry, I laugh at that, but it was like really sad. But the way that it was stated was just like, your wife is dead. Like, why are you here? Something, it was so rude. But there are some other ones, like your wife is no longer with us, but this, and that. And it was like a 7-part select all that apply question, guys. Like, it was aggressive. And I think it was on the final for me. But Middleburg was really cool about like going over the whole list of things that were relevant. Yeah, it was my living literal nightmare. Not fun. But with things like that, you have to know what's appropriate and like how to deny it by saying, okay, your wife is no longer here, but let's take a walk. Or can you tell me more about something, right? Really be aware of what's okay and what's not per situation. And I know you're probably so irritated of people saying like, use your critical thinking skills, but you really have to use your critical thinking skills. Like, you may not know the answers to everything, but you gotta really think like, is this really therapeutic? Is this accomplishing and reaching a goal that I want the patient to meet? Open-ended questions, maintaining eye contact. There's also a certain distance you need to be away from manic patients, right? Like, are you gonna be within arm's length of a manic patient? It was a no. Suicidal patients, you want to be closer, but you don't want to be very close to a manic patient, because if you're like right up next to them, they can hit you. But you also don't want to be like with your back turned to them. Like, there's just certain like tips and tricks. Certain patients going through different, whether it be depressed, manic, schizo type, I don't want to say it's I want to say it's within, it's less than 6 feet, I could have sworn, or something. But 12 feet seems like it's bigger than most of the rooms. Rooms aren't very big. Well, maybe around 12 feet. No dangerous inside within. Yeah. On the side of them. Yes, like you don't want to be standing, I think it was like directly in front of them, if I remember correctly. That's actually probably in here. Bet money. Decrease stimulation. Oh yeah, obviously. All right, cool. So also what you want to do with like these kinds of schizo patients and stuff, we talked about that therapeutic milieu environment and whatnot. You want to make sure that they're in like a calm, low noise type environment. So are you going to put them closer to the nurse's station or further away from the nurse's station?
Further.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because the nurse's station is loud as heck. Fact. Like, I mean, almost like where you think they're doing it on purpose. Like, it's really loud. So further away from the nurse's station. Are you, oh yeah, also you have to check the room. Like if they're a danger to self or others too, you have to make sure there's nothing in there that they can use to harm themselves or others. Do you want to put another schizophrenic patient in a room with a schizophrenic patient who's manic? No. Heck to the no. Like if they're both, if one's in like going through an episode, usually you're going to see a lot of this more with bipolar, but you don't want to put them in like the same type of room together, because like sometimes one delusion, like delusional person, is going to maybe feed into the other person's delusions. Then you're going to have two people just like talking about God knows what, like encouraging each other's delusions. So you got to think about those kinds of things like, oh yeah, but they have the same disorder. And then you think with your brain and you're like, oh wait, that's going to create a lot of issues for me as a nurse. I don't want to do that. Cool beans. So let's see, what else do we have? Let's talk about, what did we not cover yet with this chapter? I'm trying to think. Oh, extrapyramidal symptoms. Okay, so EPS, pyramidal symptoms. Let's name a few. What are some symptoms of like with EPS? Dystonia? Oh, it definitely could be. Yeah, 100%. Actually, I would probably bet 50%. I'm keep betting you guys stuff. I can probably guarantee you it's going to be on there. Tardive dyskinesia, that's with your tongue, right? Pseudo-Parkinsonism, akathisia. Yep, pill rolling, cool. What else do we have? Actually, I think you guys might have gotten all the ones that I even had on my list. Tardive dyskinesia, yeah. Cool. Example for, oh my God, what do you say for TD? Don't tell me it was like was it a sexual example?
He was just saying like, imagine a guy at the club and he's staring at you and he's smacking his lips and looking and moving his tongue and blinking at you, winking.
Ew. Oh my God, I've had that happen, but in like a grocery store parking lot. This guy was like, sup girl, and he just like started doing this like weird lip smacky stuff, and I'm like, ew, and then just walked away. Or I don't even know what I said, but yeah, perfect. That's a great way to think of it. So it's those like, oh, I think hip thrusting was in there too. You guys talk about the hip thrust in that? Yeah, cool. I know that's a weird one, so that's why I mentioned it, because it threw me off. I was like, hip thrusting? Facial thrunk? Twerking? Yeah, twerking's a good one. What's facial thrunk? I don't know what thrunk means. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, I mean, pretty much like you're kind of like moving your stuff all funky and whatever. Oh, thrust. Okay. I was like, oh, I don't know if thrunk is a word. All right, cool. Yeah, pretty much like your lip smacking is definitely like a hip thrust. Irreversible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like pseudo Parkinsonism, right? Like you're not actually having no, I don't think there's a medical word for hip thrust, to be honest, or at least not that we knew of. I mean, there probably is, like, I don't know, but we didn't learn that. So yeah, like, and then there's certain things you need to do to help with EPS. What are you gonna do? Yeah. Okay, explain ABC.
I think it's Ativan, Benadryl, and Cogentin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Benadryl is also known as that long D word. What's the long D word?
Diphenhydramine.
Diphenhydramine. Mm-hmm. Yep. So Benadryl is diphenhydramine, and you will see that so freaking much. Oh my God. So speaking of, let's say the patient is on haloperidol, they have a stiffly fixed head and they're drooling. What are you going to give them? Hint, hint, just said it. I mean, diphenhydramine in general, but like you may be doing like the ABCs too. But yeah, Benadryl, diphenhydramine, yep, same. So also you're gonna get both versions. So please do yourselves a favor and know both. Cogentin, Cogentin. I don't think it's congentin. I think it's that. Oops, did I spell it? Yeah, there you go. Like that, congentin. Ignore my capital O. Oh wait, Angela had it up there too. Cool. So yeah, know those for sure. You don't need to know how much. We discussed that you don't need to know the dosage or anything like that. Just know that they are there and know what they're used for. Okay. And then let's see. There was also a what is which one? That one is have it on here somewheres. Okay, benzotropine mesylate. Oh, you already had it in there. See, I'm like too busy looking for it. Yeah, benztropine. I always add like a benzo because I want to say benzo, but it's benztropine. Cool, sweet. It always cracks me up how Middleburg says ketapine. He goes quetapine. It's hilarious. I love him. Okay, cool. So now that we know that, solid. And then let's see here. What else? Do we need to know generic? Yeah. Yep. What's the generic name for Ativan? Dun, 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 dun. Generic name for, yep, lorazepam. Perfect. You will need to know those, all of them, like all your benzos and stuff, more like later. I think that's like 2 or 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks maybe from now. Like your clonazepam, lorazepam, alprazolam, Xanax, like all of those things you'll know later. But for now, lorazepam, which is Ativan, know that. Okay. And also try to like learn how to group them together. This is a huge tip for 5250. Yeah, he may ask that. So what's the 5? Dun, 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 dun. 5 to 50. What are those? Haldol 2 of. That's kind of like they call it like the cocktail to kind of knock someone, not knock someone out, but to like, if you're in like an emergency, you need to calm someone down, you give them like, he always says cocktail, but then he doesn't want to say cocktail. It's 5 to 50 of 3 different medications to basically not fully sedate, but just get the patient to relax. Yep, Haldol, lorazepam, Benadryl. Perfect. Yep. I know what you meant. Haldol, lorazepam, Benadryl. Perfect. But like I was saying, try to know how to group them, okay, if you can. Like, yeah, Haldol, lorazepam, diphenhydramine, Benadryl, whatever you want to. however you want to write those, if you want to just write them 1,000 times, like we're using a mix of the generic and trade names, do it, like whatever helps you remember it. So try to look what they end with. So for instance, your new antipsychotics, right? Like your more recent ones, not your typical. Your newer antipsychotics, a lot of them end in dome. Okay, what does that number mean? Oh, it's the dosage, but you don't really need to know the dosage necessarily. So 5 milligrams Halidol, 2 of the Ativan, ABC is Artane. Yeah. I mean, we talked about 2 different ones here. We talked about a cocktail and then we talked about this one, but yeah, Artane, Benadryl, Congentin, that's for like your positive, it's like your EPS symptoms. Okay. The other one is to like, if you're in an emergency situation and you want to like not put someone down, but like relax them. For sure. All right. So new antipsychotics. Okay. Look at what they end in. So like you have risperidone, paliperidone, ziprasidone, and then you have your pines or your penes, olanzapine, ketapine, clozapine, right? Yep. Idone and apine, ketapine. Okay. So try if you can to maybe like highlight those last letters and like see if you can group them. Your typical type antipsychotics. Honestly, guys, there's not. I mean, you can kind of look at the azine part. Yeah, see that one's just kind of thrown in. But what I'm saying is like look at those and see which ones you absolutely can do that for, if that helps you. Like it helped me when I was looking at like the old antipsychotics, like the typical ones, where it's like chlorpromazine, fluphenazine, terfenazine, thoridazine, right? Like, yeah, first gens. That's what I'm talking about now, is first gens. The other ones were the newer ones. Yeah, second, for sure. So, but the ones I'm talking about now, the chlorpromazine, fluphenazine, all those, these are first gen. Okay. So that helped me. And of course you have Haldol or haloperidol, which is like one of those kind of like, you know, doesn't really fit in with it type of deals, but you just know that it's in that classification. Okay. Like some of them you just have to understand where they fit, because you're going to be asked sometimes, maybe not necessarily if it's a typical or atypical antipsychotic, but it would do you well to know if it is, because of what those symptoms are. So remember how I said in the beginning, I wrote down the anticholinergic symptoms are very common in those typical or conventional or first gen, right? Know all the names for it. Antipsychotics, because you may try to attribute a second gen medication that maybe doesn't have all of those symptoms, like let's say Clozaril, right? You may start putting anticholinergic symptoms when it's hypersalivation, right? So it would do you well to know whether they're first or second gen because of those symptoms. Like you don't want to get those confused, because they can be very confusing. Does that kind of make sense? I know it's a lot. Like, trust me, I get it. It took me weeks. No joke. What's up?
So on my slides for morass, she says, so to go with the ABC thing, she says, you can give, it prevents EPS except for tardive dyskinesia. So what would you give like instead?
Tardive dyskinesia?
Yeah, because it's, she put, you give benzotropine or congentin, and it prevents EPS except for tardive dyskinesia. So like, how would you tackle tardive dyskinesia instead of like using benzotropine?
Tardive dyskinesia. Ooh, is that a Benadryl one too? Magali, did we talk about this one? I'm trying to think. Tardive dyskinesia. I want to say it was like, was it Benadryl?
It was, no, wasn't that for dystonia? The ABC
Oh, maybe.
dystonia.
Okay. I was like, I know we just talked about this. Okay. Fudge. You know what? To be completely honest, I don't remember what the tardive dyskinesia one. I'm almost positive because in Swift River it was diphenhydramine. Like, do you guys remember that? That it was in there for that question? I don't know if that's the same, so I don't want to tell you yes. But I do remember on Swift River, I think I have it here still too. Yeah, let's see. Oh wait, benzo. It's not technically a benzo. What benzo was used for it? Oh. What were our common ones? We had Valium. Maybe it was Valium. No, that's a longer acting one. Shoot, I'm gonna have to look that up and get back to you, because I know that it was either a benzo or it was Benadryl. Like the B word, Ingrezza? The heck? What's Ingrezza? Why don't I have that one?
Yeah, so actually Tan was the one who put it on his little medication list. Treatment for TD is Austedo and Ingrezza. The generic name is valbenazine and deutetrabenazine.
Oh, okay. So if you have tan, guys, I guess know that one, because I definitely, that's why I didn't have that in my notes, because we did not talk about that for Middleburg. If you have Middleburg, ignore it because you won't need it. If you have tan, know that. Yeah, Cogentin and Benadryl. Okay, I knew it was Benadryl. I was like, either benzo or Benadryl. So if you have tan, know the other one, and maybe just know Benadryl just in case. If you have Middleburg, it was the Cogentin and Benadryl. Okay, cool. Solid. Because I was like, oh, I could swear it's Benadryl. You're gonna use Benadryl for a lot of things, guys. You'll see kind of how it flows into there. But yeah, definitely know that. Also, let me just give you a IM route. Yeah, you can do IM for sure too. I mean, IM's faster than oral, and also if someone's acting cuckoo, or if they're having all those kinds of symptoms, you're not gonna wait for oral to kick in. It takes too long. Try to disconnect due to benzotrine. Oh, that's the one that Nicole was talking about, right, Patricia? I think. Yeah, okay, cool. Perfect. So if you have tan, there you go. Thank you guys for contributing all that. That's important. All right, quick question. Let's see if we can get this. If my patient is taking Zyprexa, what am I going to tell them as far as a possible side effect? What might they be experiencing? Zyprexa. I'll give you a hint. It's atypical. And the other name is olanzapine. Oh, you got it, Jemiah. That's the one I was looking for. So dry mouth would not be in this one because dry mouth is part of the typical. So you're going to see the typical side effects being dry mouth. You may see hypersalivation is a lot to do with like clozapine too. I've seen that in there, but most atypical have weight gain. Yes, so you're going to notify them like you may have weight gain, you may be possibly sleepy, things like that. You have fewer incidences of the EPS, but you may have metabolic syndrome increase, right? Which is that increased lipids and sugars, which is why they have weight gain. Increase in prolactin, most, yep. First line medication for cognitively impaired. For anorexia, we give olanzapine. I mean, if they are anorexic, I could see how that would be a possibility. I do see olanzapine as one of the most frequently used ones. I don't remember if it was the first line medication for it. Does anyone remember if that was part of their lecture? First line medication was olanzapine for the cognitively impaired? Because I Okay, cool. Perfect. All right, and there you go. That's important. It's a very important medication. Olanzapine, Zyprexa. Know it and know that weight gain is a part of it, okay? And this is why I mentioned know the side effects, because it doesn't have as many EPS symptoms, but it could have maybe metabolic syndrome. What was the other name for second generation? Atypical and second gen. That was it. It was the first gen that has typical or conventional. So first gen, typical, conventional. Second gen, atypical. Okay. It's effective on positive and negative symptoms. Yes. Yep. That's second gen we're talking about now. Okay. So second gen medications are effective on positive and negative symptoms. Okay. And for acute dystonia, which actually someone said this, which was important, you can do the Benadryl, Cogentin, and I think also for an IM injection, he said Artane or trihexyphenidyl is what Middleburg said for acute dystonia. And actually, I'm going to write that down here. Cogentin and Artane. There you go. All right. Do you call RRT, like respiratory therapist? And then I am for Benadryl. I don't remember about the calling respiratory therapist, but I mean, oh, rapid response. Okay, I'm like respiratory therapist. Yeah, because I mean it's serious. And you administer that IM, so it's faster. Just stab. Okay. So know that there are multiple types of those like little acronyms, like your ABCs or your Haldol, diphenhydramine, Ativan ones. Okay, like know each of those. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them total, and know what they're used for. Because that's gonna come up. And go with what they said in lecture, because sometimes it changes teacher to teacher. So, all right. Weight gain, yep, talked about that. Cool. Agranulocytosis for like clozapine, increased sedation. Ooh, there's a huge thing to remember with Geodon, which is also generically known as ziprasidone. What do you have to monitor for someone taking Geodon? Definitely take with food. EKG, yes. You have to monitor their cardiac status. Okay. What wave is prolonged? Yep. Cool beans. Yay, you guys got it. Awesome. So know that. Okay. Geodon or ziprasidone. Monitor their cardiac status. Take it with food. Possible QT wave prolongation. And then palpitations is in there too. Let's see. What else do we have? Positive symptoms. Oh yeah, we talked about that. So someone mentioned 305. Yeah, per when you're giving the medication. Yeah. I know we were talking about the persecutory delusions and stuff earlier. So the word delusion is in there, right? Let's talk about positive symptoms. Quick kind of quizzy stuff for the end of this, because I know we're coming close towards the end. What other positive symptoms can we have for a schizophrenic patient? Think persecutory delusions. What else do we have? Auditory and visual something. Delusions of grandeur. Sensory. Audio and visual hallucinations. Perfect. What else? There's something. It's 3 words, starts with an F for the first word. It's also a positive symptom. Exactly. Flight of ideas. I used to forget that one a lot, but it's important. So remember that flight of ideas is also a positive symptom. Okay. What else do we say positive symptoms could be besides visual and auditory? They could also be movement, motor. Perfect. Good. Okay, just want to recap on that because those select all that applies. Yeah, not that fun. So be ready. All right. And let's talk about this one because it's one that I forgot all the time. What does avolition mean? Lack of what? Perfect. Good. Just want to make sure. All right. What is the best way to ensure medication adherence for patients? It's the best thing that you can do. Decanoates? I don't know what that means. Long-acting meds, what's once every two? Oh, like you mean medications every 2 weeks? Yeah, so best way to ensure medication adherence is making sure they can take the medication in the prescribed route, right? You are not gonna have medication adherence if your patient can't swallow and you're giving them like oral, PO tablets, okay? So, or maybe even oral liquid. If someone can't swallow, boom, okay, you already answered my question. If someone can't swallow an oral tablet, are you gonna say, oh yeah, we'll just do an oral solution? No, they can't swallow. Like either you're giving them an injection, but before you go to that aggressive, type of treatment, you're going to start with the DIS tablet, which is a disintegrating, dissolvable, oral disintegrating tablet that goes sublingually under their tongue, okay? Sublingual under your tongue. Think of the least invasive possible administration first, okay? So yeah, oral disintegrating tablet is less invasive versus injections, 100%. So when you're approaching questions, you want to, like, I know you want to jump to like, all these quick methods like stab, like cool, cocktail this, ABC this, whatever. But when you're looking into like medication adherence or just best version of, patient care for the patient, I mean, think of what's like more convenient and what's not going to hurt them. Like if you have the chance to give a medication that can be given in an oral dissolving tablet like ariprazole, which is a 3rd gen, or otherwise known as Abilify, sorry, I mumbled that so hard. If you can give Abilify in a dissolving tablet, why would you IM inject it, right? So think about those things when you're taking your test, like critical think, okay? All right. Weight gain patient, type 2 diabetic. Ooh. What don't you want to give them? If they're like a type 2 diabetic and they're heavy set, what genre or generation of medications would you probably stay away from? Yep. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. I write my notes in very brief statements. So sometimes I have to make up like other words of what I think I might have actually had. So if you're like, what? That doesn't really make sense. That's why. Okay. Let's see. If you have EPS, what is going to probably be going on with your hands? Dun, 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 dun. Yep. Tremors, involuntary movements. Yeah. And like, think about it like this, like inability to relax, right? Like if you have like, what did they say? Like that pseudo Parkinsonism and stuff, like you're kind of just all over the place. Okay. So think about that, and try to relate it to just not being able to kind of sit still, right? So like I said, try to attribute certain symptoms to those different disorder type deals, like your metabolic syndrome, your EPS, all that kind of stuff. Try to make sure you get a really good, maybe like a little brain sheet, like take a piece of scratch paper and put a little, like back in school when you do like a brainstorming session, do that. Like if it helps you to get all those different symptoms in there. Cause I'm telling you, I guarantee you, you're going to at some point in this class have a select all that apply for most likely both of those. So be ready for it. You know it's coming. Be ready.
I have a quick question.
What's up?
So you mentioned for the weight gain for like a diabetic person that can gain weight, you mentioned that it would be a second gen medication. But for a first gen high potency, isn't one of the side effects weight gain as well?
There's a possibility of weight gain. So it's not like you are gonna have most likely weight gain. Like it's possible weight gain, possible sexual dysfunction. So yeah, it's not, yeah, good question though, because that's important.
Right, so would it be, so the key word would be the diabetes then for the metabolic syndrome then, right? Because weight gain can apply to certain classes.
Exactly. And like you think about those second gen medications too, we talked about like you said, metabolic syndrome that it could cause, where high lipids, high sugars, you know, all that stuff, where if you're diabetic, you do not need that kind of extra stress on your body and your organs. Okay. So solid question. All right. And then, if you've taken conventional antipsychotics for a year, what would you most likely end up transitioning to? What medication? This was stated in my lecture, so maybe it was in yours too. It's a different class, second gen, and there's one specifically that you could take. No, but you're so close. It's next to that one. No, Haldol's still first gen. Second gen medication. It's no. Yes, Seroquel. Perfect. So ketapine. Okay. I know this was in my lecture. So I don't know for sure if you guys had it or not. Could be maybe, but it was like if the patient was taking conventional, which is, yeah, if a patient was taking conventional, otherwise known as first gen, otherwise known as typical antipsychotics for over a year, they might transition, or most likely would transition to a second gen medication called ketapine. Okay. I had that in mind. Or you said quetapine, however you remember it.
Wait, sorry. Did you say after like the first gen, when you go to second gen, you take Seroquel?
Yeah, Seroquel, ketapine, it's the same thing. Yeah. And it was like after a year of taking the conventional ones, because like a lot of those have a lot of issues. Oh yeah, here, let me put Seroquel. Well, there's that, and then there's yeah, not ketamine. Horse tranquilizer. Yeah, ketamine. Ooh, that's some quetapine is how Middleburg likes to say it. It's ketapine. Honestly, it's probably my mumbling. Yeah, because ketapine and ketamine sound pretty dang similar. Reason for it is just, I mean, those EPS symptoms can be extremely, extremely severe, like those, or not EPS, anticholinergic symptoms and stuff. Also, like Haldol, you don't see people on those types of things long term because of like the high potency medications and things like that over time. Like a lot of them can just mess you up, and like especially with the high potency of severe EPS symptoms. So sometimes they'll take it to a different class of medications that's maybe not as bad with symptoms. No, the one that I mentioned was a second gen. So ketamine is the second gen that they would transition to, possibly, if they're experiencing like bad symptoms and they've been on it for a long time. If it's not in your lecture, don't trip. No, it is a second gen. The one I just mentioned, ketamine, is second gen.
Sorry, I was just wondering because I was wondering if switch to any second gen, like olanzapine or clozapine, you know, why this specific one? That was my question.
You know, that's actually a really good question. And I don't even know the answer to it. I just remember ketamine was mentioned in mine. I don't know if it could be any. I'm assuming it could be any because like we talked about, olanzapine and Zyprexa was a pretty popular like first choice we said. So maybe it could be whichever in the second gen, but personally, I remember ketamine was mentioned for me. But good question on there. I wish I had a better answer on what would be exact, but definitely something to look up. I'll check it out and I'll see for next week. Before, because we're getting close towards the end, did anyone not sign in and needs the QR code? QR code. Good Lord, have mercy. Did anyone not sign in? Okay, let me put it up real quick while I search through my notes for a hot second. Oh wait, just kidding. I can't search my notes when I'm showing this because then you're gonna see it. Okay, so just open up your camera icon if you're not really familiar with how those work. Open up your camera, like you're gonna take a picture, put it over that, and it should pop up a link. What should you know about anger, aggression, and violence? So I would just see what I think of when I think about those is your precautions. So you use restraints as a last resort, right? So you need to, oh yeah, no problem, Anna, anytime. You need to make sure that you are first trying your therapeutic communication, right? Trying to talk them down would be a good way to say it. Make sure you are being clear and using, if they're angry and they're violent and they're like super aggressive, you need to also like, I don't want to say assert your dominance, but you also have to show that like you are in charge without being blatant. Like if you don't sit down right now, blah, 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 you know, like think what's the most stern but therapeutic way that I can, okay, perfect, Holly. Stern therapeutic way that I can put this person in their place and reduce their aggression. Because if you start yelling back, it becomes a yelling match between you and the patient. No one's getting anything done, okay? So best way to handle those types of patients are just make sure that, yeah, sit down or like, you know, I'm trying to think of what there was a question actually on the proctored about that. So actually, it's a really good question. I wish I had the exact one. I bet you I do have it somewhere. I write down, oh, I can't tell you. Never mind. I write down a lot of notes. Do you just really focus? Yeah, schizophrenia for sure. Like this one is really high schizophrenia, and it is super, super, super high medications. What else? What other things do you have questions on as far as other chapters that you're talking about? Like, give me examples of what other culture. Oh my God, cultural. Okay, so that is like, I remember there was a question I want to say it was in like the success book, which please definitely utilize your success book. And it was talking about the culture, I guess, like the family wants to help out with like the patient care or something like that in their culture. Something about them wanting to help with patient care. And it was talking about they can assist with daily living, like activities of daily living type things. It wasn't really culture specific. I know for a fact when we talked about culture, it was more of people may express things differently because of their culture. They may not, you know, when you're supposed to sit in front of the patient and like make eye contact and they're not making eye contact with you, it may not be that they're having a problem necessarily. It just may be a cultural thing. So being culturally competent and understanding that some people have almost symptoms kind of per se, because it may be a cultural thing. So you just have to be culturally competent and aware. And then also that leads more into therapeutic communication. In the book, it said, don't use lack of eye contact. Exactly. Perfect. That's what I was saying. That just explained it a little better. But other than that, I don't think, unless your teacher mentions some specific kind of cultural considerations, I don't think that you really need to know like a Buddhist does this or a Indian person. I don't know. I never really had anything like that. It was just something about activities of daily living in the one that I remember from like the success book. And then do we need to know any specific medications for anger? No, I mean, I would just know that ABC, like the fudgesicles. Which one was it? It was the cocktail one. The not ABC. It was the haloperidol, the Ativan, and the diphenhydramine. I think that's what we were talking about, like when someone's like super aggressive or something like that. 3rd gen is Abilify. Yeah. Oh yeah, know that one comes in the oral disintegrating tablet. Is that what you're talking about? Or what about Abilify? Because it is 3rd gen and it comes in a lot of different methods of administration. But that was the one I mentioned with oral disintegrating. It's low EPS. Ooh, speaking of the prolactin with like the gynecomastia. Remember they talked about like the man boobs, which is called gynecomastia, right? Yeah, know that. Yeah, for sure. And know that, yeah, gynecomastia, got you. Gynecomastia, yeah. And then galactorrhea, okay, hyperprolactinemia. I saw that in 3rd gen, which was like ariprazole and fudge, what was the other one? Abilify was the other name for that. I don't remember seeing it for risperidone. Risperidone I have under the 2nd gen. But I'm talking about Abilify or ariprazole for these specific symptoms. Okay. Gynecomastia? That's like a possible, wait. Oh my God, am I tripping? Hold on. Nope, I'm an idiot. That's in 2nd gen. I'm such a dork. I'm reading because the common side effects is right above the 3rd gen, the medication box. So the common side effects is for the 2nd gen. Increased appetite, weight gain, hyperglycemia, hyperlipidemia. Highest risk is clozapine and olanzapine because we talked about those two having the hypersalivation, agranulocytosis and stuff. Increased hormone prolactin leading to gynecomastia and galactorrhea and amenorrhea, low libido. Yeah, okay, sorry. Apologies, guys. I'm literally reading the side effects box in my medication sheet, and it's right next to the 3rd gen box. Like that's why on the first page I highlighted a bunch of stuff so I can make sure I was on track, and the second one I barely have like anything written. So yes, the Abilify and the ariprazole is important when you're talking about the oral disintegrating tablet. The gynecomastia, galactorrhea, amenorrhea, that could be exactly what you said with the risperidol, all that kind of stuff. Yes. They are side effects of 2nd gen. Because as I explained, it was super close to my 3rd gen. It's more of a smoking reduces the efficacy. Oh yeah, you know what? That is important. I feel like that was possibly relevant on my midterm, but maybe even one of my tests. But yeah, smoking reduces the efficacy of clozapine and olanzapine by 50%. And also, as we discussed earlier, clozapine and olanzapine are the ones that have the increased sedation, seizure risk, hypersalivation, and the agranulocytosis. All right. That was most of the question-wise things that I had on there. Just know your EPS, the artane, benadryl, cogentin, because that's also on the medication sheet. You don't need to check out at all, just as long as you checked in. It will be posted on YouTube. I'm going to actually, thank you for reminding me, I'm going to email them now because they should have already had the YouTube video posted from last week on this weekend. So now we're like another week behind. I feel like I just want to post it myself because it'd be so much faster. I would just post it now. Let's see. Yeah, just in case you guys, let me give you, you already have my school email because it's not hard to find. So here's my regular email in case you guys need to email me or message me about anything. I'm a lot faster. Actually, I'm kind of fast with both of these contact methods. So whichever. Keep that information. If you need it, please reach out because I'm here to help you guys. I have time. I can always make time. And then with that, I will say have an amazing rest of your Labor Day evening. And cheers. I will see you next week. My pleasure, guys. Feel free to message me anytime, whatever you need.
Can I ask you a quick question?
What's up?
Sorry, I missed like the first 10 minutes because I went to the wrong the Zoom meeting.
Uh-huh.
So when I came in, you were talking about like which medication I need to know, and then I missed that.
Okay.
Can you go over quickly which medication that I should?
Yeah, for sure. So the ones that you're going to need to know, like what I was mentioning when we first started, had to do with one, oh my God, my boyfriend left the fridge door open. So I'm going to take you, okay, whatever, I'm just going to leave it. I don't care. Ignore the beeping. So the side effects, okay? So when you're looking at your medications, you're looking at those typical, otherwise known as conventional 1st-gen medications. You want to place the side effects for those types of medications in that box, in that genre. So important medications to know would be like your chlorpromazine, which is also brand name Thorazine, okay? And also even like thoridazine and Mellaril, like mesaridazine and Serental. And then your high potency ones. So your Haldol, fluphenazine, all of those, pretty much almost all of them are important. It depends on your teacher per se. Who are you taking?
Middleburg.
Oh, okay. So the no chlorpromazine or Thorazine, I would say actually all of those low potency ones on the top, they all end in ZINE. So just keep those in your head and just know that. And then no haloperidol.
Mm-hmm.
Fluphenazine with the F.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Those are pretty much the main ones.
No, Navain?
Wait, we're still talking about the 1st-gen.
Yes.
You said, oh, Navain. Okay, yeah.
Navain,
okay, in the middle.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that one too. An ORAP, kind of, yeah. But just know for sure, like Haldol, chlorpromazine, all of that kind of stuff. Know that it treats, like those kinds of medications are going to treat the positive symptoms. They don't treat positive and negative.
Right.
Right. So like things like that are going to be very important. But don't like kind of beat yourself up on like the little minor stuff. Like for instance, there's, where is it? There's, like on the second gen, it's in Vega, or like Vralyar, which is cariprazine or something like that. Though you're not going to see those. So like with ones like that you know you haven't ever talked about, or like Nuplazid, don't stress yourself out. Just know the other ones and try to, if you can, group them if possible, because that'll help.
What about the Perbenazine?
Perbenazine? I didn't really remember that one much. I think the Trilofan. Yeah, I don't really remember that one.
Okay.
But I mean, it could be different.
So it's,
yeah, I mean, it ends in the ZINE, right? So that's a good way to kind of know where it plays. And then, yeah, and like we talked about, there's going to be some medications that have the same kind of suffix, but for those particular ones, you just are going to have to memorize that they go into a different section, because if you have all medications in the typical conventional medication section that tend to end in ZINE, right? And you have one that happens to end in like a PINE, right? Like loxapine, you're just going to have to memorize that it goes in that other section, right? So it's going to be easier to memorize one medication that's kind of out of place versus like 10 of them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just know that those are like anticholinergic up there. Know that, know what your EPS symptoms are. Know that your route is important, you know, like if you're going through different medications. And then second gen, positive, negative, metabolic syndrome, cause a lot of weight gain possibly. And then, like I mentioned, did you remember the Diodon, the Ziprasidone specifics that I talked about?
Yes, like EKG, you said with food and stuff.
Perfect. Okay, good. Then if you know that, you're good to go too. But yeah, just things like that. I would say if you are solid on that, you'll be just fine, because
thank you.
It's honestly just the select all that applies have to do generally with like positive, negative symptoms. What are positive, negative? What are some symptoms of EPS or metabolic syndrome? I mean, you got to think there's certain things that he's not going to say what are select all that apply first gen medications, like which ones are first gen. I mean, he may do a select all that apply with that, but your select all that apply are going to be relevant for things like EPS and metabolic syndrome that are very important. Yeah, they're very specific, and they have a list. Positive symptoms, negative symptoms, they have a list to them. So it could be a select all that apply, right? So just approach it that way and you'll be just fine.
Thank you, Karlie.
No problem. You guys have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Okay, I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. See you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.
My pleasure. Take care, guys.